Greetings, everybody. The name of this webinar that you have come to see is Supercharge Your Income with AI. There is a lot that we're going to get into and talk about. I'm assuming a diverse skill set here, so let's hop right into it. Before we get started, if you guys wouldn't mind dropping in the message, where are you right now? What city are you located in? Here, I am located in beautiful St. Petersburg, Florida, but I'd like to know where the people around the area are also going to be around from. So if you drop that in there for me, I'd appreciate it. Let's move right on. So first, who am I? Who do I work for? And why should you listen to any of the words that come out of my mouth? These are very things that I need to establish before you can trust me. My name is Brian Perret. Among other things, I'm an academic, I'm a developer, I'm an orator, I'm a musician, I'm an activist. I have a love for education, I have a love for technology, and I have a love for community. All of these things I bring together at my job at CodeBox. What is CodeBox? CodeBox is a tremendous organization, and my role within CodeBox provides me a unique perspective on the technology workforce, specifically AI, as it pertains to this webinar. So CodeBox exists as the CodeBox Academy, which we have located here in Florida, and our solutions division, which manages our clients. The solutions division is doing real projects with AI right now for our clients. We just were awarded AI Chatbot of the Year for work we did with one of our clients. We develop AI curriculum for community colleges and for our local workforce entities to support people getting jobs in AI. So I have an idea, I have experience with what employers are using AI for. I have experience seeing what universities are teaching students. And all of that mission is being supported by the CodeBox Foundation, which is the nonprofit arm of CodeBox, which allows me to act as a mission-based organization. So hopefully that gives everybody here an idea of who I am, what CodeBox is, and why I might have some words that could provide value and wisdom to you in regards to how we can use AI to supercharge our income. Because as we have right here, AI is coming for your jobs. Right now, this isn't just people talking. This is from a Future of Jobs report back in 2023 that says by the end of this year, AI will have displaced 85 million jobs. 85 million. What kind of jobs are these? These are the repetitive and predictable tasks like data entry. Even something like driving a truck is going to be replaced by AI. And a lot of factory work is already being placed by AI automated processes. We're seeing how data analysis and pattern recognition, these things that were once done with spreadsheets and charts, now can be done in a fraction of time with these AI models. Also, jobs that have a high degree of standardization, security, the chatbots that we talked about, proofreaders, all kinds of things where you're creating the same thing over and over again, especially a digital product. All of these things are already displacing jobs. AI is displacing a lot of these jobs. Now, that can be a bleak outlook if you think about it, but on the good hand, the same report also states that in the same time period, AI is going to create 97 million jobs, right? Just like every technological revolution that we've seen over the past 40 years, starting with desktop computers, to everything going online, to everything being in a mobile phone, to now all computing being done in the cloud, and now AI, what we see is that innovation creates jobs, right? And the kind of jobs that are going to be coming are the jobs that are needed to build, train, and maintain these bots to serve the economies that come out of them. Just like social media came from having internet and computers and mobile computing, AI will create a whole new economy around it. That's how you see the application drives industry. And with all of this increased productivity, that will allow us to make more money, to do more with less. And this is what really drives economic growth. At every phase of the innovation revolution, innovation leads to economic growth. It actually grows the pie. So we've talked about AI. We've heard how it's going to change the entire world. What is AI? Artificial intelligence. The definition, as I've researched it, is the ability of machines to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. Some of the common tasks done by by artificial intelligence we know about: language processing, image recognition, as well as complex problems. Like, we've seen how you can use AI to change languages. We could see how you can use AI to transform language into a prompt that can go out and do a search. We're seeing every day through deep fakes and other kind of AI generated art, the visual outputs of AI and the computational ramifications of AI are getting used more and more every single day, from things like protein folding to market analysis. We're going to talk some more about that in the future. But one thing is important to recognize is like what the tools so far, what they are not. And if you look at the bottom here, this last line, true artificial intelligence also possesses some things that are uniquely human: emotion, consciousness, ability to learn and adapt. And now, depending on what tool you're looking at and your definition of true intelligence, some people say that artificial intelligence has already has really met the bar for human intelligence. Before I go into that and we talk a little bit more about machine learning, can you guys drop something else for me in the messages? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you consider your AI proficiency, right? Give me a 10 if you think you can develop a model from scratch. Give me a 1 if you've never heard of AI before. For reference, I'd probably put myself somewhere around 6 or 7. I have a pretty good idea of AI. I can use most of the tools, but I fall well short of being able to develop my own agents. And there are a lot of tools out there where people are telling me how to use things. So I'd love to see where you guys are falling in that, as we talk a little bit about machine learning, because actually what a lot of the tools we're looking at are machine learning tools, where they take the data, they collect it, use the data to define features, right? And then from those features, you can create a model. So like if we're looking at all the images that we have in my screen here, there are a lot of colors and a lot of pixels. From these pixels, you can determine the feature of a picture. And now we go through and we train the model to say that whenever you see something like this, that's a picture. We go back on the other side now and we test the model, saying, go through here and identify all the pictures in my view here. And we iterate upon that until we get a more improved model. Again, these are models where it's looking at the data, it's using its training to identify a feature. That's separate from artificial intelligence. It is, however, very powerful tool, and it has become a game changer. It's increasing efficiency and productivity. People are able to get more done in less time. And jobs and entire industries are being created. I just saw data that looked at angel investing in the first quarter of 2025 and how it's the highest it's been in years. That's largely driven by roughly $115 billion in AI investment, right? We hear often about the jobs that are being laid off and folded. And as you look at that, like when Google or Meta says they're laying off jobs, the very next sentence is they are transferring resources to R&D and AI. That's where these jobs are going. That's where these skills are going. We see how we see how AI is impacting creativity and innovation, as well as a number of these bullets here, which I'm not going to dive into deeply each of them. But one thing I want to stress is that by embracing AI right now, right, we can stay competitive, we can maximize our potential, and future-proof our careers. For friends and family, I'm here to tell you that AI is here and it is coming. The smartest people in the world are investing money, and I think it's wise for us to get on that way. So we've talked about what AI is, what AI is not, a little bit about machine learning, how it's a disruptor. Let's talk briefly about the tools. All right. Now, we could have a whole separate webinar where we go over each of these tools or each of these use cases and how you could use those tools. And as a matter of fact, somebody on the CodeBox team, Josh, will be dropping in the messages links to many of these tools as we go through, because I don't want to spend too much time in the weeds with each of these, because we could go into any one of these and have a blast and show how we could, change our businesses in image generation or scheduling or creating slide decks and presentations. But for now, I just want to give you a survey and talk a little bit about the main aspects of them, right? So we have our chatbots. These are a collection of products that many of us have used. We type stuff into it, we get it out, right? It's usually what we get out is usually in the form of text or image, but some of these we're able to get spreadsheets, other kind of documents out of that. Down at the bottom left, we see that more and more platforms are now being powered by AI. Our website is on Wix, and we use a lot of their AI stuff to generate some of the content. Other platforms such as Shopify and Etsy are using AI to help streamline their processes and provide services to their customers that they weren't able to provide before, especially when it comes to creating custom products. And again, list of the specialized tools there on the right. What's the best tool for us to use? We're going to talk a bit about adoption in the back, but on the front end, I want us to think about tools as we go into the different ways we can use AI to supercharge our income. And the considerations I want us to be thinking about are budget, right? This is a money thing. And most of these AI tools, they have different tiers. There's a lot of cool stuff you could do with the free tier of ChatGPT. There are some cooler things you can do with the pay tiers. Some of these more niche tools, they don't have a free tier. They require you to pay, or maybe you get a 2-week trial period. So thinking about the budget. Also, think about the tasks that you want to complete and the business cases you want to support. All right. So like if we're looking at the different tools we have here, if I want to, use something that's based on research with the most current data, I would most likely use Gemini because they are linked up to the web and have data most current, as opposed to ChatGPT, which currently has a data horizon in 2024. Whereas if I wanted to use something with strong computational models, I would use the newer DeepSeek out of China because that's shown to have strong capabilities with strong computational models. Another thing you want to think about is the ecosystem that you want to work in. Me personally, I have chosen to follow Google. And so the Google AI, the Gemini, it interacts, it collaborates with Google Drive, Google Docs. And so I'm able to use single AI tools across many different aspects of our business. It may not be the best idea for me to use a Google tool here and a Microsoft tool here. Whenever possible, I'd like to keep those the number of tools I use to a minimum in order to complete any given task. And of course, safety. AI is a tool. It can be inherently amoral, but the results that we impart of it have interests that we need to consider. Things like data integrity, things like bias. These are things that we want to consider when using a tool. For instance, a tool like Claude is really focused on the safety and ethics of AI. And if that is something that's important to you, that's a tool that you may want to go look into. All right. I want to spend a brief second here talking about a field called prompt engineering. And the main reason I bring this up is so that everybody here knows what prompt engineering is, as it is one of the key ways that we get the most out of whatever AI tool that we're going to use. The vast majority of consumer AI tools, the interface that you're going to use is a text prompt, a prompt command window, where you enter a language prompt, and that prompt is computed on the back end to get you the result. Now, the better the prompt that you input, the better the result that you're going to get back. And prompt engineering is the strategic process of crafting instructions or queries to get the optimal result. The key principle of that is understanding the objective of what you're trying to do. If you want an image versus a text document versus a schedule, you need to let the tool know what you want to get out of it. Structure your input properly so that it is logically organized so that the model can input it and output your desired outcome. You want to optimize for specific outcomes. And the main part about this that I like is to iterate upon it. when you get the output you get from whatever tool, whether it's an email or an image or an automated process, the most important part of it, and the part that is not going to go away anytime soon, is the human part, what I call curation, where we go in and re-review the output of the tool to make sure that it is done properly. And if not, we refine our prompt in order to get it better. This is one part where the tools have been getting better and better, as you can go into Chat GPT and Gemini and create a whole projects and systems that are based around a single idea. In this case, generating an image of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You can create a whole task on that and give the model suggestions and instructions based around that solo. All right, so now on to some of the meat of this. I want to talk about strategies on how you can supercharge your income with AI. I've broken that down into 3 different parts of our lives. 1, your current job. How can you use AI today to maximize your productivity and do your job better? You do your job better, you're more likely to get a raise. If you're more productive, you're going to feel more confident about yourself. If you're getting more stuff done in less time, you're going to have more time. So maximizing productivity on your current job can lead to you supercharging your income. Also, developing your skills and skills that are going to be important in the AI economy will help you get your next job. The stat that I quoted early on when I said that 85 million jobs will be cost because of AI and 97 million will be created, that is a delta of over 180 million jobs. That's pretty much every working adult in the United States of America whose job will be significantly impacted by AI. I encourage you all to develop your skill set and start going for and looking for those next jobs that exist. Because as we'll see later, there are good jobs out there. There are high-paying jobs out there, and the employers are looking for skilled workers, and it could be you as the next person to take advantage of this economy. Your current job, your next job, and more common. It's almost a requirement these days. You got to have a side hustle to support your main hustle, right? Like me, I play the saxophone and I speak. Finding ways to monetize your passions and using AI to maximize that will be a great way for you to supercharge your income. All right, now I want to go through a little bit and show how your current job may be affected with AI by looking at industry. And then I want to talk about some of the skills that are going to help us take advantage of the AI economy that is being developed as we speak. And then finally, we'll just talk a little bit about how your side hustles can be helped with AI. All right, first, AI in the workplace. Every repetitive task that you have, I encourage you to find a way to automate it with AI, whether it be data entering, scheduling, all kinds of stuff. This frees up time for strategic work. There is a really cool project that we're working on right now I want to share with you guys. There's a local middle school that has to schedule their classes. And every summer, 2 assistant principals spend 40 hours a day for 2 weeks, or for 2 months, excuse me, just generating this schedule. A schedule that I was able to generate in a weekend with the constraints that they gave me. And so just in that, I'm able to save this school untold thousands and create an awesome story. And now they can go focus on best ways to deliver these classes, right? And by the way, in doing it that way, I was able to ensure higher accuracy and reliability of the schedules. One of the final steps that they have to do, they have to go through and update and change all the mistakes that they've made. Now, I'm not going to say that the schedule that I created was 100% accurate, but it was more accurate, and I was able to reduce the time, spending more of my time validating, curating the output as opposed to generating the output. Automating repetitive tasks. Data-driven decision-making. This is one of the new capabilities that AI gives us, right? If you look at data, there are 3 basic things with data. You can be reactive to it. You can look at the data of stuff that already happened and say, oh, we want to do more of that. We want to do less of that, right? There's data that you can use for predictive modeling, where you look at the data from the past, you extrapolate it to the future, and you say, based on the things that we've seen, this is what we are likely to see. right? Now, if you combine those two, now you get into guided modeling, and that's where AI comes into play, where it takes the data of the past, it predicts trends for the future, and it goes to the next step. It gives you guides on actions that you can take to help use that data to maximize your bottom line. These are things like generating insights and forecasting trends. Something cool recently, I don't know if you guys have seen the torpedo bats in Major League Baseball. The shape of those is something that was generated by AI using data and shaping and modeling and swing data to find a way to maximize the velocity and the sweet spot of the bat. That is an example of how data-driven decision-making is impacting the bottom line right now. The Yankees got a bunch of home runs off of that. How else is it being, the workplace being affected? Enhanced creativity. Almost every image you see in this presentation that's not a photograph has been generated with AI. The outline for this presentation was generated by AI. You know, I plugged into it bullet points of everything I wanted to talk about. It spit out an outline, and I filled in that outline. It enables me to be more creative and more organized and able to deliver polished results faster. Improved communication. I recommend that everybody use an AI tool before they send out an external communication, right? Especially to your key clients, to your bosses, to that lady or gentleman that you really like. I create my first draft of every email or message I want to send out, and then I have an AI evaluate it with my goals in mind and see how I meet my goals. I ask for it to give me some feedback, and I ask for it to give me some suggestions. As I do that, I become a better writer. I become a better grammarian. And that's just the quality. You can also use these tools to automate emails, reports, presentations, to translate things into other languages, right? As I'm a software developer, and having the ability to translate live and on the fly has been an incredible help for me. Oh gosh, there's even more AI in the workplace. So continuous learning. We can learn everything we want to learn about our jobs and the skill sets for the future by creating personalized learning paths within these tools. I just went to this past weekend. My girlfriend is from Kenya, and I am using ChatGPT to teach me Swahili. And it's given me a whole plan with 6-week path of different phrases and even resources that I can use to help support me. And another point down here, personal productivity and time management. Again, on your job, how are you managing your calendar and your deadlines? We all have one of these in our pocket, right? How many of you are using your AI here to create calendars for yourselves, to manage your deadlines, to give you a recognition of what time it is? Or how many of you are using these in association with Google Wears to maximize your workouts or to monitor your sleeping? These are all places where you can increase the bottom line of your current processes. And finally, leadership, right? And I put this last because for me, this is the one that's the least intuitive. How we can use the brain of AI to help lead our companies into the future. These are things that are being done even today. Locally here in St. Petersburg, we have the Raymond James Financial Group. I recently learned that every chief executive and senior vice president is given their own individual AI bot to help them forecast industry trends, to help them analyze employee performance, right? Whenever we're looking at our employees and are trying to do the reviews for them, there's a certain amount of bias that we bring into that because we work with these people. Use an AI tool to remove some of that bias to get a subjective, an objective measure of how they are performing. How are we doing? Ooh, all right, let's keep it moving. Some other impacts on industry. So depending on what industry you're in, here are some ways that AI is impacting these industries. We spoke about medical. With the high number of, there are billions of DNA base pairs, proteins fold in all different kinds of ways. AI has been able to find drug interactions, vaccines, new proteins based on the physical data of simulations rather than having to go into the lab and do all of this stuff. Like I spent a previous career raising stem cell cultures in a biomedical engineering lab, and it could take 2 weeks to do a single test that they can do in 2 seconds. AI is able to, and this is one of the coolest things that I'm learning about as I've been going to the doctor, is how AI is able to give you individualized treatments and care. But moving on, want to focus on the money part. Financial, we talked about trend detection, predictive analysis, and algorithm training. We're also seeing a lot of impact in manufacturing, right? We're seeing the robots that can do the jumping, and our domestic servants that is becoming more and more prevalent, but also quality control, always analyzing and checking to make sure things meet quality standards is important. And another piece here is in retail and e-commerce. This is really important for small businesses where they can manage a lot of data without a lot of people on hand to manage this. So you can think of inventory management, targeting advertising, so specific products are hitting specific customers at the right time and place. And more we're seeing autonomous vehicle delivery, including these drones that Amazon is using to develop or deliver things. So those are some ways that AI is impacting the industry. But what about that next job? What are some skills in the AI workplace that are going to help you get that next job, right? In my role here as Academy Director, I work with local employers and I ask them, what are the skills that are going to make an attractive technologist for you in the future? And what we see is it breaks down into these 3 areas: your technical skills, your domain expertise, and your soft skills. In the AI economy, you need all 3. You need the technical skills, and in technical skills, that could be programming, data analysis, and cloud computing, but that also, excuse me, I got mixed up here. So the technical skills, so the skills that you need in order to leverage these tools, that is going to be an important part. How do you manage and analyze data? That is always going to be an important part of the AI workforce. One interesting part that is going to be unique to each of your fields and where you can really bring some value to the AI skills workforce is in your domain expertise, right? If you are a chef, you have certain expertise about cooking and cutting and preparing food that when you leverage the technology part makes you more valuable. A doctor can use AI to help them examine an x-ray because a doctor knows what to look for on the x-ray in the first place. People who have understandings of economics and the markets can use tools to update and predict because they understand how the markets work and they can teach their models that. So having both the technical skills to understand how to manipulate the models and the domain expertise, the business sense, if you will, to know how these technical tools can be translated into real world outcomes. The combination of those 2 different skill sets is very important. However, doesn't matter what you know if you can't communicate it, or if you can't work in a team, or if you can't solve critical problems. And so these soft skills are becoming more and more important. And the trend is that they're becoming crisis levels in the workforce. More and more, I'm hearing managers saying, give me a worker who just shows up and cares. Give me somebody who can communicate an issue on Monday before it becomes a crisis on Friday. To everybody listening to me right now on this webinar, I encourage you to get stronger when you're with your AI skills, but I encourage you just as strongly to become better communicators. I think when it comes to bang for your buck, the 2 best things you can do is practice your AI skills and join a Toastmasters club. There's one near you. Like I said before, there is a tremendous and growing AI skills gap as companies like OpenAI and Meta inject billions of dollars into the industry. The demand for critical roles is exploding. Data scientists, machine learning engineers, even ethicists and policymakers. Everything around the AI economy, demand for these professionals is increasing, right? And because there aren't enough people to fill all these roles, the competition is driving the salaries for this quite high. And there's an example that came out last year I'm going to share with you guys in a little while just to show you how the soaring demand for professionals mixed with this shortage of qualified candidates, because there aren't enough people out there with the specialized training. Access to quality training can be limited, and it just takes time for people to learn these new tools. So some data to support this AI skills gap. There are roughly only 22,000 AI specialists in total throughout the world, based on the firm Deloitte's definition of what an AI specialist is. Over half of all organizations lack the talent needed to execute their AI strategies. That's over half. And almost 2/3 of decision makers view the AI skills shortage as a significant business threat, right? So you have half of organizations don't have enough talent. 2/3 of them think shortage is going to be a significant business threat. Again, that means there's value there. And what happens when we have this skill gap? The consequences: companies can't leverage AI as much as they want. There's slower adoption. Opportunities are missed, and the gap is widening. Because I guarantee you, the large companies and the companies with the resources and the companies working hard and the companies spending the time investment to work on AI and leverage these products, they are getting the results. They are getting the gains that are increasing the gap and leaving those who are not even further behind. Roles in the workplace: entry level, mid-level, senior. And I want you to look at the right here, because roles have gotten so crazy that Netflix put out a job posting for a product manager with a salary of $900,000 per year. These roles are popping up more and more frequently, and I've added them here so you can have an idea of what the roles are and what some of the skills are and what some of the salary ranges are for in there. So you got your entry-level data analyst. That's a person who's doing many of the tasks to support these tools, right? The mid-level people, now they're going to start getting into some of the business logic, some of the engineering logic. This is where higher level skill sets or expertise in the domain start to become important, right? And then finally, your seniors, the people who can see the big picture, the people who can translate everything that the mid-level in business is into the bottom line and see the horizon going forward. That's where the people are starting to make $150,000 to $250,000, all the way up to almost $1 million a year salary for Netflix. So again, developing those skills will help you get the next job, and these look like some pretty good jobs. Finally, your side hustles. Find a way to use an AI tool to make some money, right? I am a professional speaker and a saxophonist. You can go to brianparade.com, you can go to blackberg.biz, and you can find images that I've generated from AI. You can find websites that have been generated from AI. I have a whole new thing going on, Dog St. Pete. It's a whole social media thing that's being created all with AI. And you can do that in many different ways, right? So art and design is one way we showed it. Content we talked about. Develop a chatbot and curate a chatbot. Grow it to learn your own voice, to think the way that you do. Create courses. This is one thing that we do at CodeBox Academy. Almost every course that we create starts with or includes AI to help us organize, determine what we're looking at, do market research to see what is out there. Manage your social media. One of the most important parts about a side hustle or being an entrepreneur is getting your message out there to your customers. And right now, for me, that's social media, and AI really helps manage that. We spoke about wellness and financial services, and more you can actually use AI to create digital products, right? So if you have a business and it may be able to support it with a mobile app, you could use AI to help you develop that app. As a matter of fact, there are quite a few products that could come off the shelf where you could take a product, use a little AI to modify it to your business, and now you have a working app that you can submit to Google Play or to the iTunes App Store. So what are some first steps that we can do to go forward? One, find a chatbot that works for you. All right, do that first and foremost. Two, write out some specific business cases that you think would support your business, that an AI could help support that. Three, research some of the specific tools that already exist for your business and maybe some ones that don't. 4, identify how to monetize your hobbies and passion with AI. And then once you've done all that, I want to talk a little bit about this last part, this calculating impact part. This is a newer part that we've been working on to really illustrate and communicate how AI tools can impact the bottom line while also recognizing that it's not all sunshine and rainbows with AI. Whenever you're adopting a new tool like this, there is a balance that you have to consider, right? So on one end, AI can do a lot of these awesome things. It can increase your productivity where you can get 10 things done now, where before you could only get one down. It can decrease the number of mistakes. Maybe I was having 2 out of 10 wrong, and now I'm down to 1 out of 10 wrong or 0 out of 10 wrong, which is reducing waste. Doing all that saves time and it enhances analytics. So we can see that, once we're up and running, these AI tools can impact the bottom line to help supercharge my income. It is important, however, to also recognize the other side of that scale, the costs associated with using an AI tool. So one thing that we're seeing is the most effective AI tools often have a cost associated with them. That cost has to be considered. If it costs $20 a month, but you're only getting, $15 a month of utility out of it, are you throwing away $5 a month? On the other hand, if it costs you $20 a month, but you're able to get $100 out of utility of it, okay, that might justify that ongoing cost. However, the ongoing cost for that tool is not the only cost. There is the training time associated with onboarding that tool and applying that tool to your processes. And when corporations are looking at whether or not to adopt this is often one of the things that's hindering them. The amount of time and money it takes to implement a new tool and then to train staff on a new tool costs money. Right? That's going to slow you down. That may stop some processes, slow some processes, reduce your bottom line. And if the AI tool doesn't make up for that in its productivity, that may not be the AI tool for you. Next point. These AI tools, they're not one-stop, set it up, walk away type deals. You're going to have to maintain these occasionally, coming back, looking to make sure that it's working as it's supposed to, updating it when it's not. There is a time and a cost associated with that you have to consider before onboarding these tools. And finally, the last one I want to put in, because this is also one that gives people trepidation. Fear is too much of a word, but I will say trepidation. And it's also a hard one to predict, is the viability window of the tool that you have right now, right? If I were to base one of my business processes on the chat GPT that existed last year, it would be obsolete today, right? And so we want to make sure that all the costs that I'm putting in, all the time that I'm training, all the maintenance that we have to do, all that cost, once I pay that, is this tool going to be around long enough that I can recoup that cost and actually get the productivity? And so when you're looking at using a tool, I recommend doing a cost benefit analysis for each one of these tools before you use it. Some, it may become a very easy decision. Yes, I want to use ChatGPT to help me create more tasks. But if I'm only sending 2 or 3 emails a day, it may not be worth it for me to onboard and pay for an AI service to manage my email inbox. So as you're going through, especially with how your side hustles and how you want to improve your individual processes with AI, I encourage you to look at that equation and how it relates to you. As always, if you are interested in learning more about AI, if you want to be at the very forefront of the skill set, the people who are helping develop these large language models, CodeBox has a number of programs that can help support you. And everybody who comes into the CodeBox ecosystem is part of our family. We have clients that we need to develop for. We have programs that we need to teach, and I need coaches to help teach them. And so if that's interesting to you and you might want to be part of the CodeBox family, I encourage you to reach out to us to NACCE, to whoever you think may get you closer to us. And I look forward to speaking with you when that time comes. I will end this part by saying thank you and showing you some of the awesome people that I get an opportunity to work with throughout my years here at CodeBox. And I now open up the entire thing for discussion. Thank you.
Okay, Brian, I have your first question here. It says that you mentioned using AI before sending out correspondence. Curious if confidentiality is part of your responsibilities. If it is, how are you ensuring confidentiality so that AI is not putting into its memory bank directly and or inadvertently when assessing your correspondence?
That is a great question. Thank you for posing it. Uh, One thing that's really important whenever you're using these tools is data security, recognizing where your data goes. Just assume that everything that you type into ChatGPT or Gemini or any one of those, that's being kept and it's being saved and it's being stored. It's being used to create the next model of that LLM. But in the process, it is holding on to your information. So a couple of guidelines, and this because this is something I do. Never include any proper nouns, I would say. I don't include people's names, titles, company names. Most of what I generate in terms of an email is a message. And so I will either include dummy variables or dummy statistics. When I use it, I'm looking at it generally as a filter. I'm looking more for grammar, for tone, and for verbal efficiency. Less, not so much content, right? Because right now, because of what you're talking about, because I need to be sensitive about intellectual property, and frankly, these tools are not of the quality yet where I feel like they know my business better than me. That part I always do myself. Thank you for the question.
Okay, next question. For the ways you are mentioning how you are using the different AI tools, what level plans would be good, better, best, and why? What are any resources to use to get timely and reliable reviews and or recommendations of the AI tools that may work well together, like many use Zapier for different software programs?
That is a long question. I'm remembering parts of it.
Do you want me to say the first part again and then the
Please,
second?
let's take it part by part, please.
Okay, the first part. For the ways you are mentioning how you are using the different AI tools, what level plans would be good, better, best, and why?
Okay, so for the way that I'm using AI tools, what would be good, better, best? So best for me is whenever I'm starting out a project, I use AI as the cure for the blank page. Right. My best practice, and I talked about this, and the majority of the AI tools that I use, I'm using either ChatGPT or Gemini for 90% of what I'm doing, right? I also leverage some of the tools that are in the platforms that I use, right? So if I'm making a presentation with Google Slides, I'll have it generate a slide for me, and then update that. If I'm using, Wix, a lot of the web work I do is in Wix, and it has the ability to generate pages and organizational stuff for that in there. And so, for a good one, like especially for developing web pages and presentations, like the AI tools are getting really strong at creating a good enough product for you that you can then go in and update. For me, my best is organizing. Well, it's part of like my job. Like I talk a lot and I present things. So for me, it's organizing presentations. Whenever so earlier today, I had a meeting with one of the Major League Baseball teams. We're doing a project for them. Before the meeting, I just prompted my LLM. I'm meeting with this Major League Baseball team regarding this. What are some things that I should know? What are some topics that I could touch on? Maybe give me a joke or two, give me a piece of news or two, right? So now before I go into every meeting, I have a small briefing that took me 30 seconds to prompt. I read it 2 minutes before I go into the meeting, and now I'm briefed, right? We use AI in our processes. We record every single one of our meetings on Google. So this is we're on Zoom now, but we use Google Meet. And we have part of our process is that all of our meetings are recorded and transcribed, right? And because our tool is used for ours, internal, all of our data is safe in there. So that's a long answer to your question. But to generalize, I would say identify which processes in your business or your day-to-day are most most important, most frequent, and then find a way to supplement those. That's going to be the most important one for you. Whatever your most impactful, your most frequent business case, that's the one I want you to focus on. Hope that answers your question. Next
Okay,
part.
next question. What image AI tool would you recommend? Specifically, let's say you're
Oh
creating
man.
English grammar workbook for educators and their international students, or even a listening a children's book, illustrating
Yeah.
bad eyes, illustrating a children's book.
Yeah. If you go look, there are some good image creation ones that are dropped in the link there. One thing that I'll note, and for those of us who have been keeping up, we can see that just this past, well, I think it was last week, a week before, ChatGPT dropped their new image generator. Gemini earlier this week dropped Imagen 3. These tools are getting better and better each iteration. And I think you spoke about something that was a drawback of the early ones where they would put nonsense writing into it. So if I asked you to generate an image that has the word Brian in it, it probably wouldn't say Brian and it probably wouldn't be English, right? The newer ones that I've been playing with Gemini and ChatGPT are getting better with those. So for right now, I would recommend using those in addition to any of the ones that we have links here. The ones that we have links here, those often are going to have a cost associated with it.
Okay, next question. For clarification, wondering about price point of the plans. Information provided is still good, yet was wondering without him going into details about the plans themselves, just an overview.
Yeah, and this isn't just unique to AI, but it's something about software in general. And it's important to recognize that most of these products fall into the category of a SaaS, a software as a service type product, where you are accessing the service via an online tool like a web browser or your mobile phone. Right. And so for those, there are often different tiers. There's the free tier for many of the wide ones, right? Like your Chat GPTs, your Geminis. Your free ones are often going to have some kind of restriction associated with it. Either so many prompts that you can use or reduced performance, however it is, or access to maybe not the most current model, right? And now if you take the next step up, and that next tier usually goes from around $20 a month as a price point. That's when you're starting to get to your Geminis, your Googles. Now you have access to their paid models. I use those because I find that for $20 a month, the value that I get far outweighs $20. When I consider alone just the speed of which the prompt returns the output, just that amount of time that I save from going from a free tier to a paid tier justifies the cost for it for me because I use it that frequently enough. Once you get into enterprise stuff and leveraging APIs, like you can have AI builds that get crazy. And so warning here, there is a warning here because you can, if you're leveraging an API, let's say version of ChatGPT to support one of your back-end businesses and you don't have a throttle on it, it can, you can have costs that go out of control, and it is not unheard of for a company to have a 5-figure AI budget associated with something like that. Now, if you're doing it right, the 5 figures makes sense if you're, getting 6 figures of return out of it. But if you're just getting API calls, you're not getting recouped. You got to be careful there. So to recap, there's generally a free tier that is limited. There's usually a personal tier. It's going to be around 20 bucks. At the top end, there's an enterprise tier, which I don't think anybody here is talking about. But also in between, there are different business types tiers. So small business, medium business, large business. And those often, depending on the tool, can fluctuate. So like the pay tier is the same as the small startup solopreneur type tier. And then it generally increases as the size of your teams increase. I've seen tiers, go from teams of 2 to 10 to 20, 50, 100. And that's usually based on the number of licenses. There's a
Okay,
universe of answers out there.
that was your last question. I want to thank you, Brian, for a great presentation with some great information. And I want to let the participants know that you will receive a recording of this webinar in the next day or two. Thank you for coming.